Hello, hello. Today we're going to talk about the Taurus New Moon. And this video is going to be a little different because I'm not in my normal space. I am here in a moment of free time, needing to record this when I can because I have not had time to record. I've been working so much in true Taurus fashion and picking up extra shifts, needing to get more serious about finances lately since the Scorpio full moon. That can be a lot of our stories that we're having right now, where we need to step up and do more work and get to work so that we can pick up the extra slack where we need to. And of course, we all know that the prices are high. So we're going to get into all that because this is very Taurus themes. I named this video Taming the Beast. So we're going to get into that as well. But first, let's just go ahead and start by saying this is occurring on Saturday, ruled by Saturn, on May 16th, 4:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So adjust your time according to where you're located. And this is a new moon. So the sun and the moon at the same point in the sky at 25 degrees of Taurus. Taurus is a fixed earth sign. It's the first earth sign. And it is represented by the bull. And so it's a very fertile sign, with a bull being, a cow that gives milk. And technically the bull is the male cow, but Venus is the ruling planet of Taurus. So this is a very feminine sign, because earth is also a feminine element. So yeah, that's actually interesting that it is the bull with the horns, right? But the themes are all very feminine and very, But the horns come in as well because, right, that's where the Taming the Beast comes in. We have these animalistic qualities in the beginning parts of our development, right? This is the first earth sign where we're just starting to get to know our bodies. We're just starting to get to know the language of the body. And that's going to be a big theme for this new moon as well. So, what unspoken senses are being awakened right now, right? Like, there's a new moon, so there's no moon. And the moon represents our unconsciousness, like our sleeping part of us that hasn't come into the light, that hasn't had the light, enlightenment shown upon it. And that enlightenment is the sun. So when the sun and the moon come together, there's an enlightenment moment. Sorry, I was getting something out of my teeth. I just ate my lunch. And we're going to be talking about a lot of these Taurus themes, which are related to the food that we eat and how we take care of the body and how we show up just to meet our basic needs, like our needs for taste, touch, sight, and hearing. And like, what do we give our senses? Do we give them good things? Do we let them calm down? Like, are our adrenals fatigued because we've had so much Aries energy, and we still have a lot of Aries energy, which is related to the adrenals and wanting to go fast and having a sense of urgency in the world. And then Taurus asks us to slow down, and it asks us to take things slow and to do things the slow way, the right way, and wants the quality result rather than just a quick result. And so that's where we're asked to slow down. And we also have Mercury conjunct this new moon. We're learning the language of the body because Mercury being there, being the messenger, being the one that transmits communications and, receives and gives messages. So bringing things into our awareness, into our cognitive awareness, we can start to understand in a more cerebral way the language of the body that is unspoken and unseen. And truly just, it takes all of us doing that work to sit in stillness and to start to listen to what our body is telling us, and taking the time to create a foundation of a relationship with the body through movement or something like this. in the way that it could be coming through for us to understand the body more closely and more intimately is through taking a class, doing a study time with anatomy, or with a more cerebral and logical point of view rather than the mystical, right? Because the mystical stuff, maybe we went down that path with the Scorpio full moon, and now we're like feeling like, okay, let's take a more practical approach. But ultimately knowing that the science merely only can point to what the mystics have already discovered years and years and years ago. So that's what's really cool about this axis of Taurus and Scorpio. It's like, is this stuff even real? And it's like Taurus is wanting to know what's real and what's true. And then Scorpio is like, but this is truth. And this is also mysterious and also like hidden, and also, you know, is it real? Very mystical, like in between the realms. You know, with coming from all this Aries energy, we might have found new movement practices that we really feel like help us connect ourselves to our bodies. And that's so important. We're really understanding how important it is to move the body, and how important it is for us to have joy and to have pleasure, right? Like do stuff that makes us happy genuinely, because Taurus is Venus ruled. It's about pleasure, and it's about feeling good, and it's about what we truly just genuinely enjoy. Like without, and you know, yes, this is a money sign. It can be. It's also because Mercury rules exchanging money. There can be a lot of that too, but it's like, what do we value without money being attached to it as well, is always a valid question for us to ask when we're talking about Taurus, because inherently Taurus wants to be connected to that abundance frequency of how the earth is just simply a organism that gives and gives and gives, that abundance never ends as long as we do the work, right, as stewards of the earth, to tend to her soil and to do the work to plant and garden and keep up and you know, like do that work. It's not easy, and it's a beautiful exchange that is equal, and it needs to be equalized. And so there's, you know, a big problem that we have. Of course, we know the problem with the earth crisis right now, and you know, I talk about it a lot, and I think by now a lot of people know that I'm going to talk about the food systems, because that's Taurus too, right? Like, this is not just me getting on my soapbox. This is the theme of this new moon and of this sign. It's food, because it's nourishment, and it's supporting the physical body with the necessary nutrients, right? And like coming from the earth. And we have had Uranus in Taurus for the past 7 years. We recently had it move into Gemini, but we are feeling the repercussions of all those 7 years of learning about how messed up the systems we have are, you know, how they really do destroy the earth. Like, we've seen all the documentaries at this point. We've seen that all of it has been exposed through beautiful, like, people who have made that their life's work to show what's going on and to help other people become aware. Because that's what happens, right? And Uranus does that. It wakes us up and it shows us things, and we can't go back to not knowing what we know. And it's very shocking, and it's like, that's been what it has been, Uranus and Taurus, for the past 7 years. And now we're finding out like where we're still resistant to the change that we know has to occur because of the deep awakening that we've been through. And now we're coming up against this stubbornness, right? With the Taurus being stubborn horns, like, you know, stubborn as a bull. Like, try to move a cow, it doesn't happen. You don't really have the strength for that. And so there is a fixed quality to this sign that is like digging its heels in, and it can be very stubborn. It is the most stubborn sign if it wants to be. And, you know, that's a good thing sometimes, and it's a bad thing other times. And so learning where we need to soften the rigid edges that we have against change that we know needs to occur, And like for the betterment of the earth, for the betterment of our bodies, for the betterment of the animals, for the betterment of all things. Like this is the thing that Taurus is funny about, because it is the most stubborn sign, but like it genuinely, if it was to make these changes, would find a better quality in what it's, in whatever it's doing, because that's what happens. But like when sometimes it sticks to the old crap, it's like out of comfort or out of like not wanting to just change, but the quality still should override in the highest form of that sign, right? Like it should be quality over like being stubborn for no reason, or being stubborn just because you don't want to change. And we have to ask ourselves now what really truly is in alignment with our bodies, with our earth, with each other. Like what, because this is a really controversial subject, and I want the bottom line to be here that I believe all beings everywhere should be happy and free, and we should all have quality food that is not poisoned, that is not sprayed with poison, for everyone to have access to living food that actually nourishes the body and actually, creates a system that is not built off of violence and terror and, crazy energy, just crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. And a lot of maybe what we have now come to terms with, especially with all this Billie Eilish stuff like blowing up. I don't know how many people, were just exposed to veganism for the first time via Billie Eilish, like on that massive scale. But that's pretty cool that happened around the Scorpio full moon, where it was like secrets coming out, right? It could have been very much that, like stuff that makes people really uncomfortable that nobody wants to talk about, getting you cancel cultured, like that's the Scorpio stuff. And she did that. She talked about veganism, and she took her influence and used it for something powerful, but there was a big stir up, and that, is what happens. And so, yeah, now a lot of us, I think, are really just maybe being pushed a little bit more to like look at what's going on, even if it's uncomfortable. Yeah, it is uncomfortable. I will agree. And that's just my 2 cents. Please don't hate me. I'm really just trying to talk about what is real. Also, it's relevant to me because I am a vegan, and so there's a massive awakening occurring at this time, and I want to be someone who spoke my truth, and to be someone who believed in what I was doing, right? Like I'm not just gonna be doing what I'm doing for no reason. I believe in what I'm doing, and yeah, so I'm gonna be proud in that, and I'm gonna also talk about the astrology for what it is. And and that is what this new moon conjunct Mercury conjunct Uranus is really, I think, pointing to, is asking us to speak our truth and speak about our beliefs, commit to something in a way that is like, this is what I stand for, devotion through love. What are we devoted to because we love it so much, and we're willing to do hard things, and we're willing to like use all of our strength and all of our stability and all of our like groundedness to support this thing that we love. And we've been asking ourselves like deep questions with the Scorpio full moon, and we're doing a lot of introspection with the Aries energy, like getting to really know ourselves on another level, in another really healing level, right? Because Chiron is there. And so we're really doing a lot of healing and a lot of recalibrating at this time. It's important for us to take that time to do that and to honor that space, and to, honor our truths and honor who we are. And, it's very topical that we're going to be hearing people take very like perhaps loud, strong stances on things at this time. Shocking stances, perhaps, as well. Maybe in that opposition to the truth of what we just had revealed, right? Because that Scorpio is one side, it's the truth, and that Taurus can sometimes be that opposite force of like sticking your head in the sand and like denial and, you know, that stubborn aspect. So we have Mercury at 28 degrees, 3 degrees away from the new moon, conjunct. And then we have Uranus at 1 degree of Gemini, still basically conjunct Mercury at 28 degrees in Taurus. Yes, they're in different signs. But that Uranus is there awakening us, awakening Mercury more so because it's closest to Mercury, so the mind. And Mercury is also about to have its time with the sun and its Mercury cazimi, which is the same point of the sun as the planet comes back around in its rotation. It stays with the sun, and it is said to be in the throne or in the heart of the sun. And so it's being rejuvenated in Taurus, it's being grounded, and it's being cleansed, and it's being revealed, you know, like that's a moment of clarity for us in whatever Taurus related themes that we're dealing with, you know, all that Uranus and Taurus, all of this new moon stuff, whatever's coming up for us, we're having this moment of the sun and Mercury together being illuminated, the mind is cleansed, and we can maybe see things more clearly if there's been confusion, because there is a lot of confusion right now. And that's exactly what they want, is for people to be confused and for people to be completely unwilling to change their ways because they can't think critically about the new stuff that's coming into their, you know, the new information that's coming in. Anyway, so everybody's just confused and stressed out and like denial. And that is a scary place to be. And that is probably going to be, you know, not the way to a pleasure-filled life, because that's what Taurus ultimately wants for us, is all of us to just be happy, to be in a state of joy and pleasure, and like, you know, we're doing things that we love, and we're putting hard work into something because we love it, and it's beautiful. So anyways, like that devotion, right? Like, so there's like maybe going to be some unexpected commitments that come up, or there might be pressure to commit to things right now because that Uranus is there, and Taurus is, you know, that fixed quality, and it's like, could be very much relationship stuff too, but it could also be like commitments at work or commitments to like a long-term project, or, you know, something that suddenly comes up and you're like, oh, I have to make a decision right now. Like, it could be that, because, you know, with all this Aries energy still, there could be a big sense of urgency. We need to talk about it because it's Mars and Chiron conjunct at 28 degrees of Aries. That is a really big healing moment for this. I think this is why it's taming the beast. Like, essentially, this is what I meant by this, is this masculine planet of Mars conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer, and feeling all this like Aries stuff that we've been through, like very masculine initiation, all this damaging information about the masculine that we've stirred up again, all this man-hating, everything that's happening. We're now having the Mars planet, masculine planet Mars, come in contact with Chiron and healing and figuring out how to heal itself and how to like be okay with itself, right? Because it's still in this sign of the self, like it's still learning who he is and learning, like being brave enough to truly face themselves and to see what needs to happen and see like the healing that needs to take place, right? Like what needs to happen and committing to that maybe. And so that's beautiful. And we could be, you know, dealing with addictions, and there could be commitments around like committing to healing, something like maybe it could be, for Mars, that could be with masculine people or men in general, but it could also be like anything that's been hurtful or toxic or violent, some sort of like violent healing situation is being resolved, and or like anger or anything like that. Very, very much any of those themes. Or if there was something that you started back in that Aries time, right? Like 2 months ago now, like Aries superstellium. You know, now could be another point where if it didn't work out, or if it's like not working out the way you thought, like taking a moment to figure out where you've been going wrong and to adjust and to heal and to take a new approach and like come back a little bit stronger as Mars and Chiron, you know, kind of rejuvenate there. And so taming the beast, like, you know, where we've been in all this Aries energy, we've been in Scorpio energy, and maybe there was some toxic stuff that went down, you know, like maybe there was some crazy impulses that I told you not to play out and you still had to, like, because, you know, the stubborn energy of Taurus could also be like, I was too stubborn to listen to the stupid little astrology girl on YouTube because, you know, anyways. So I hope that's not what's happening with, the vegan stuff too. It's like, man, we were all so stubborn to listen to the vegans, and now we, you know, wish that we had. Anyways, so yeah, I want to talk about Venus in Gemini at 27 degrees as well, making a sextile to that Mars. So there could be, you know, that healing quality of Chiron is also sextiling that Gemini Venus. So maybe if there was some stuff that happened, you know, some conversations were had, some like sides were chosen, you know, like there's been a separation or there's been some drama even, just like feeling that this big change, if you're experiencing it, is all part of some kind of, you know, grand awakening that is occurring, because Venus is also in the same sign as Uranus. So Uranus is at 1 degree and Venus is at 27, so the beginning and the very end. But that is what has happened, is it made a conjunction with Uranus, Venus did, at the beginning of its journey in Gemini. So it made its conjunction right there at 1 degree. It might have even been at 0 degrees. Pardon me if I'm misspeaking. But it made its grand conjunction, Venus and Uranus, as soon as Uranus moved into Gemini for the next 7 years. Now Venus is at the end of her journey, and she was... she's learned a lot, and she has been through some really eye-opening moments, and she needs to take some time now at this new moon, I think, to slow down and to learn, to really solidify and ground what she's learned, and to not skip over that part, because that's the important part, right? The integration and the resting, and Venus wants to go really freaking fast in Gemini, and we have a lot of fire and air, fast-paced energy, yang energy, but we've got to keep it together. We got to keep it together. So this new moon is also making a sextile to Jupiter and a trine to Pluto. First, the sextile to Jupiter in Cancer is emphasized during this time. So I think psychic abilities, because it's conjunct Uranus, it's trining Jupiter in Cancer, which is the most intuitive sign, the most sensitive sign, the most connected with those feminine qualities of like being psychic and being connected to the other realm, right? Like connected to the spirit realm. And trining Pluto in Aquarius, you know, Aquarius is another one that's bringing in that Uranus energy. Sorry about that. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, so it's another planet that's bringing in this Uranus awakening energy. Like, there's a big awakening happening, you guys. And these are generational planets, these outer planets, you know. Pluto just went retrograde in Aquarius, so maybe we have really felt that energy come back in, and we've been really, like, tired and lethargic. I've been eating sweets all week. I'm in my luteal phase also, but I'm, like, you know, very feeling this Taurus, like, slow down moment where I've been just wanting to sleep more and wanting to eat delicious sweet treats and, like, just lounge around and just, like, yeah, be in a state of, like, I don't want to go to work. So the part of Taurus that is related to that is because it's the beginning of the harvest season, and everything is really just, like, abundantly growing all around you during Taurus season, so it's related to that. Like, we don't have to work the fields right now. They're growing. Everything's great. Like, we're good. Let's just relax and enjoy our fruits of our labor for a little bit. And so we want to be doing that. And so it's not, like, fair to just, like, chalk Taurus up to be, like, lazy or whatever. It's like, no, it's actually just about simple pleasures of life that we so often look over, that we so often forget to savor. You know, the earth signs always remind us to, like, savor the little things in life, the real, like, tangible parts of life. Like, everyone's so obsessed with trinkets right now, and I'm thinking it's so perfect with this energy of, like, yeah, Taurus, like, I want little shiny things, and I want, like, many things, Venus and Gemini, and, like, I just want to collect all the things. And I'm thinking about how that's a very, like, yeah, it's something that's kind of, like, connected to our safety, right? We hoard things, we take things in when we want to feel safe. So, like, we kind of, like, nest ourselves around in all of our things. And it's just interesting to think about it and to watch how everybody's doing this, and it's, like, what's trendy, right? Like, and what's reflected in the astrology. And so Taurus is very much related to the material wealth, the material world, and what we actually can perceive with our senses in the 3D reality. So maybe there's some, like, hoarding that we're noticing that we've been doing, and we need to let go of some stuff, and we're attached to those things because it does create safety, because it is this, like, nesting process. And that could be some of the stubbornness that we're up against with change that we know needs to happen, is, like, our safety and our identity perhaps has been wrapped up in whatever it is that we are now being confronted with that we need to let go of. And you know, I think about how so many men have identified with being meat eaters and with just being, like, that is synonymous with being manly. And, you know, that is an ego, a part of the ego that is dissolving perhaps now at this time. And that old idea and that old, like, you know, normal is dissolving. And Pluto in Aquarius dissolves the norms and shakes up the status quo. Uranus and Gemini, you know, shaking up the ideas, what people even perceive. Like, why is this what we think when we think of meat being a manly thing, right? Like, why? Questioning those beliefs. And, you know, there's deeper levels that we're being taken down to deeper levels with the Pluto retrograde. And so there's just so much here to unpack and to see with what we're going through individually and collectively. Anyway, so then we have the, you know, trine to Pluto in Aquarius. It's really time for us to look at where we are still giving away our power and where we are still outsourcing our mind. Aquarius is also ruled, like, by the mind, and where are we, like, being pulled into a more futuristic way of thinking, in a way that, like, pulls us into the future, like that evolutionary pull. And it's asking us to create new earth on earth now, here and now. Like, the future is now, is what that feels like with this trine to Pluto. And so let's go. It starts now. And like, you know, it starts right now every day as we make choices to support which companies and to support each other as people and as our community, and as, because that's another Aquarius thing, is like bringing it into our community as opposed to outsourcing our power. And yeah, there's so much like power in knowing that we can take our lives into our own hands, and we can make choices, and we can live in a way that is creating new earth every single day. Like whether it's just starting a garden on your front porch, like in a box, you know, or in your windowsill even. Like I know times are tough, and not everybody even has a freaking window or like even sunlight in their apartment, you know, and it's crazy. The money is crazy right now, and we're being asked to reevaluate all of that. Like I'm not even going to pretend like that's not a big theme of this new moon, is we need to address the money issues, and we need to understand that the value of which we place upon things is also a reflection of what we value ourselves, like how we value ourselves. So we have to become conscious of what we invest in every day with our energy and with our money, and what we vote for every single day that does create new earth or doesn't, and like does contribute a good thing to the world or doesn't. And you know, nothing's perfect, and I think it's just important to remember that, like, as long as we're making an effort, that's important. And Taurus is not afraid to show up and make an effort every single day and do the hard stuff. And you know, it's just that once it makes up its mind about something, it's unstoppable. But the making up the mind and changing the mind part is what we're being asked to confront now with this new moon. And yeah, so we're looking at a lot of different things. We're looking at the body and how we relate to the body, and we are, you know, coming back to an idea of romanticizing our own lives. And that's always important for us to remember, that our lives are beautiful, and we deserve to enjoy our lives every bit and every aspect. And like, you know, I'm not saying there's not hard times or hard things, but like I think we really just overcomplicate the human experience so much, and it doesn't have to be so freaking difficult, struggle bus central all the time. Like we, you know, like are learning that it's an inside job, and I'm not trying to victim blame anybody, because I know it's real. Like it's real mind brainwashing that we've been put under to make us think that we are at the mercy of these systems and at the mercy of these outside circumstances, and they're not real. I'm not trying to say that. It's just like, how can we take steps towards creating the reality that we truly love, and we truly take pride in, and we truly like enjoy, you know, genuinely enjoy our lives, and just be like living, instead of like having our bodies be graveyards. Like we are having a garden inside of us. And yeah, I just want to say that I appreciate everybody who has listened to this video and listened to me be on my soapbox, because I understand that it is a very sensitive subject, and I really just think that it is a big topic for this new moon. So thank you for hearing my perspective. So I had a few more things come through, and I was listening to some of my teachers' videos about this energy in the new moon, and I have left out a very crucial detail that really needs to be addressed and reiterated, because my teacher did such an excellent job of talking about Medusa and Algol, the fixed star that this new moon is basically conjunct with. So like the same point in the sky, 26 degrees of Taurus, this new moon is at late 25 degrees And so, you know, there is a big theme here of what Algol represents, which is the head of Medusa. And Medusa is a very complicated story that is, you know, a woman who was mishandled, a woman who was blamed for what happened to her, you know, like she was a victim and then she was blamed for what happened, and then that's what got her turned into a gargan, or what is it? Is it a gargan? Why am I like not knowing what it is? The woman with snakes for hair, and when you look into her eyes, you turn to stone. And she is, you know, you don't hear about the story that goes along with her. All you really hear sometimes about is when she is murdered by Perseus. And she, you know, is this like demon to be slain, and this like, you know, backstory isn't talked about. And so that's what the feminine has been about lately, right? The feminine has been this thing that has been the scapegoat for so long that it's become normal to just learn how to be subservient and to learn how to you know, just survive in this masculine dominated world. And so a lot of us have had to become overly masculinated, and we've had to be sometimes in some cases turned into monsters, because that's not any way to live. And we never wanted to live in this, none of us wanted to live in this rat race, you know, dog eat dog world. And so if we do come off as horrible monsters sometimes, like that can happen, and that's the beastly part of us as well. And so we're learning how to work with that wound that has turned us into a monster, and we're looking at the wound of the feminine and how she is outraged, and she is a raging bull of power and determination to take back what's been stolen, you know, like to equalize the playing field after all the damage that's been done. And I think that's pretty powerful right there. And we also, of course, can't mention this part of it without mentioning, of course, Eris again, because she's still there, conjunct Chiron, conjunct Mars for this new moon. So she's the wounded feminine, working with all of that we talked about already. Feels important to just make sure and reiterate that she's still there, since we're getting into the nitty-gritty of, you know, they're not planets, but they are definitely important points to discuss, especially since they're just right there, you know. And so the other thing is that this is a super new moon, so it means the new moon is closest to the Earth in the moon's rotation, right? And it's the closest point to the Earth. So this is a big deal. It is a big deal, and it's going to be a big deal because we have, of course, this is the start of a new cycle. We're going to be seeing whatever's play out for the next month, and then again we'll have it a Taurus full moon in 6 months. So we could still be seeing whatever seeds are planted here playing out for the next 6 months, and that's the case with all of our new moons, full moons. You know, this is a long game thing. And so what can we do in this moment? I want to just talk about how I've been making myself sweet little treats and like drinks and experimenting and just getting crafty about like you know, because I've been not making as much money too, so I'm just like using stuff at home, like getting experimental and like being a little bit more frugal, but also like fun. It's fun, and it's, you know, trying new things. So I've been on a strawberry or raspberry kick. So there's like raspberry in here, there's coconut milk. I literally just had some raspberry frosting and I just like dolloped a big glob of it on there, like so Taurus, extra luxurious. Like I'm just in the mood to be like treating myself like royalty and like, you know, like that's the vibe of this new moon. Like, we need to set a standard, a new standard of living, and we are all going through a transformation of becoming a new earth human. And what does that really look like? And it's beautiful, and it's delicious, and it's luxurious, and it's, you know, peaceful, and so let's all hold that frequency for this new moon. And I really just, once again, thank you so much for being here. Cheers.